maybe for the future.
Talking of urban reconstruction, of course, the plan to rebuild the Saski Palace. Right,
oh yes,
in the center there.
This is another empty area that has been empty since the times of the Warsaw Uprising, when this Saxon palace was again razed to the ground by the Germans as punishment against the Poles. A decision has finally been taken, and they have now started digging up the foundations of the building, and it is quite a time-consuming project. It will probably take 10 years or so before we see the building not even in a finished state, but at least closing in on being in a finished state. But that will be one big area that will certainly be grandiose, especially now that the European Hotel Europejski has been renovated on the other side of the street. So it will really look beautiful when it will be finished. Looking at these projects, there is also another project that the communists built in those years after the war, the 10-year anniversary stadium, so to say, or Stadion Dziesięciolecia, which was the main sporting venue of Warsaw. Back in those days, with slightly different safety standards, it could house 100,000 spectators, so it was quite a large stadium, but it wasn't an impressive structure in itself. It was wooden benches, very basic, but very large at the same time. These enormous propaganda displays would take place there in the 60s and the 70s, with all these young ballerinas dancing in praise of Stalin or Brezhnev, in the same type of mass performances that you can see today in North Korea. Later on in the 90s, it did become a symbol of Warsaw in a way, as this was this wild capitalism, so to say.
Oh yes, in the early days you could get anything there.
Yes, it was a bazaar that would bring Poles from Warsaw, from the outskirts of Warsaw, or sometimes even from 60, 70, 80 kilometers away. Warsaw was ethnically quite a homogeneous city back in the 90s, but those migrants that were here and were into trading, whether they were Vietnamese, Chinese, Belarusians, Ukrainians, they would all come and trade at that stadium. So it was certainly a place that many Poles remember with some nostalgia, that it was something of a bit of a different world back then. Today, of course, it is the site of the National Stadium, this enormous stadium that can house 55,000 spectators, and was built for the 2012 European Championship in football that was hosted by Poland and Ukraine, and that was also a moment in Warsaw's history that in some ways could maybe be compared to the Beijing Olympics of 2008.
Yes, it was a very successful time.
Slightly, naturally different scale, different country, but in one way you could say that it was a sports competition which was also meant to send a clear signal to the rest of the world how far the city or the country has come. Warsaw of 2012 was a drastically different city than it was back in the year of 2000, and even more so than the year of 1990, for example.
Exactly.
So by then, Warsaw or Poland had been an EU member for 8 years, and the city center was full of skyscrapers, great parks, and it really was a modern city that you could find anywhere in Western Europe.
If you look at the development, even since 2012, it's been quite profound now.
Absolutely.
Around just to the, trying to get mine, just to the west now of the Central Railway Station. Those developments, then of course Platz Europejski and the skyscrapers there.
Yes.
Extraordinary leap forward in terms of... I'm not convinced in terms of architecture
Yes.
there's a leap forward, but certainly in terms of development and investment in the city.
Yes, I moved to that part of the city exactly in 2012, and back then there was practically nothing there, and now 10 years later, and it has really become a second center of the city, so to say. So the pace of growth has been absolutely incredible, and the people that came to Warsaw in 2012, a lot of these football fans that had never been to Poland at all before and not to Warsaw. I remember talking to many of them, and they said that they were shocked. They had no idea. They had this picture of Poland and Warsaw from the early 1970s of just being a very grim, grey city.
Grey
no fun, no good restaurants, no nightclubs, no nothing. So many of them were pleasantly surprised. And
Adam, as usual, the clock in the corner of the room is showing that we've run out of time, but we'll pick it up next time. So thank you. There we are. I've had to interrupt Adam almost in mid-sentence, but fear not. If you join us next time, as we hope you will, we'll pick up the story and continue our examination of the history and modern development of Warsaw. Thank you for watching.